Welcome to History Avenue, the place where history comes alive. Here, we explore fascinating events, mysterious stories, and incredible lives from the past. Every video is not just a story. You'll also improve your English while discovering the secrets of history. From lost civilizations to unforgettable events, each story will ignite your curiosity and help you learn English through knowledge of the past. What if the most famous princess in the world was also the loneliest woman in the room? What if the fairy tale we watched on television was already falling apart before it even began? And what if the very love she spent her life searching for became the reason the world never stopped chasing her? Before the flashing cameras, before the crowns and cathedral bells, before billions whispered her name in grief, she was simply Diana. Born Diana Frances Spencer on July 1, 1961, into British aristocracy, her life seemed destined for privilege. She grew up at Park House in Norfolk, a property owned by the royal family. From the outside, it looked like a charmed childhood, but inside those walls, there were fractures. Her parents' marriage was troubled, filled with arguments that echoed through the corridors. When Diana was just 7 years old, her mother left. A bitter custody battle followed, and Diana remained with her father. The separation left a wound she would carry quietly for years. Friends later described her as sensitive, shy, and deeply affectionate, a girl who longed for reassurance and feared abandonment. The seeds of her empathy were planted early, nourished by her own pain. By 1980, Diana was 19 years old, living in London, working as a kindergarten assistant. She shared a flat with friends, played music, laughed easily, and lived an ordinary life. Then she met the heir to the British throne, Charles III. Their courtship moved quickly. To the palace, she was ideal, young, aristocratic, uncontroversial. To the press, she was a dream. Shy smiles and blushing cheeks made perfect headlines. In February 1981, Charles proposed. Diana later admitted she barely knew him, but the machinery of monarchy was already in motion. On July 29, 1981, history unfolded before a global audience. An estimated 750 million people from around the world tuned in to witness what was called the wedding of the century. The ceremony took place at St. Paul's Cathedral, chosen specifically to accommodate the enormous guest list and international attention. London streets overflowed with cheering crowds, flags waved, church bells rang. The atmosphere felt electric, almost mythical. Diana arrived in a glass coach, stepping out in an ivory silk taffeta gown adorned with lace and sequins. The dress, with its breathtaking 25-foot train, shimmered beneath the cathedral lights. As she walked down the aisle, the world watched a 20-year-old woman transform into a princess. When the Archbishop pronounced them husband and wife, Diana became the Princess of Wales. And in that moment, something extraordinary happened. It wasn't just a royal wedding, it was a global, emotional event. The balcony kiss at Buckingham Palace sent the crowd into euphoria. Children named their dolls after her, women copied her hairstyle, designers replicated her gowns overnight, newspapers printed souvenir editions across continents. She wasn't just marrying into royalty, she was becoming a symbol of youth, of hope, of modern glamour within an ancient monarchy. Yet even on that glittering day, nerves trembled beneath her smile. Days before the wedding, Diana reportedly discovered that Charles had maintained a close relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. Doubt entered the story before the vows were even spoken. But the world did not see the uncertainty. the world saw a fairy tale. Almost immediately, Diana connected with the public in a way no royal had before. She was not distant, she was not cold. She blushed, she stumbled over words, she laughed nervously, she seemed real. When she visited hospitals, she bent down to comfort children. When she met crowds, she made eye contact, she held hands, she embraced strangers. And the public responded with overwhelming affection. Her fashion choices became global trends. Her humanitarian visits drew unprecedented media coverage. Wherever she went, crowds gathered, not out of obligation, but out of love. Slowly, she stopped being just the Princess of Wales. She became the Princess of people's hearts. But inside palace walls, reality felt different. Royal life was structured, formal, emotionally restrained. Diana struggled under relentless scrutiny, every outfit analyzed, every expression interpreted. Charles was often distant, consumed by duty, and emotionally complicated. Camilla remained a shadow over the marriage. Diana began suffering from bulimia, later speaking openly about the illness. She described feeling unsupported and unheard. At times, she felt invisible within the very institution that had made her world famous. Motherhood became her refuge. In 1982, she gave birth to William, Prince of Wales. 2 years later, in 1984, she welcomed Harry, Duke of Sussex. With her sons, Diana found unconditional love. She hugged them in public, knelt to speak at their eye level, and took them to amusement parks, breaking centuries of royal stiffness. She wanted them to feel warmth, not isolation. The public saw not just a princess, but a devoted mother. In loving them openly, she showed the world a new kind of royalty, one defined by tenderness. As her marriage unraveled, Diana began transforming. If she could not find fulfillment within the palace, she would find it beyond it. In 1987, she publicly shook hands with an AIDS patient without gloves at a time when fear and misinformation were widespread. That single act challenged stigma across the globe. She visited hospitals, leprosy clinics, and shelters for the homeless. In 1997, she walked through an active landmine field in Angola in support of the international campaign to ban landmines. Photographs of her in protective gear became iconic. She was no longer just a princess, she was a humanitarian force. By the early 1990s, the cracks in her marriage were impossible to hide. In 1992, the separation was announced. Then, in 1995, Diana agreed to a groundbreaking interview on Panorama with journalist Martin Bashir. Calm but resolute, she spoke about bulimia, depression, betrayal. "There were 3 of us in this marriage," she said, "so it was a bit crowded." The words reverberated around the world. The monarchy was shaken. Public sympathy rallied around her. In 1996, the divorce was finalized. She lost the style of Her Royal Highness, but she did not lose the affection of the public. If anything, she became more powerful outside the palace than within it. Independent, Diana began reshaping her life. She auctioned many of her iconic dresses for charity. She refined her humanitarian focus. Yet the media attention intensified. The paparazzi followed relentlessly, cars trailing her, photographers waiting outside every destination. Privacy became a luxury she no longer possessed. Every relationship was magnified, every vacation scrutinized. Then, in the summer of 1997, Diana accepted an invitation to the south of France, where she spent time with Dodi Fayed, son of businessman Mohammed Al-Fayed. Dodi was attentive and affectionate. Friends noted that Diana seemed lighter, even hopeful. They vacationed aboard yachts, smiling in photographs that splashed across front pages. Some speculated about engagement, others questioned the pace of the romance. For Diana, perhaps it was a chance at a fresh beginning, a life unbound by palace walls. But the media frenzy reached new heights. Paparazzi boats circled their yacht, motorcycles trailed their car. The chase never stopped. On August 30th, 1997, Diana and Dodi dined at the Ritz Hotel in Paris. Outside, photographers crowded the entrances. Shortly after midnight, they departed through a rear exit, entering a black Mercedes. The vehicle accelerated, attempting to evade the pursuing paparazzi. Inside the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, tragedy struck. The car crashed at high speed. Dodi Fayed and the driver were killed instantly. Diana was gravely injured but alive. She was rushed to Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital, where doctors fought to save her. Despite their efforts, at approximately 4 a.m. on August 31st, 1997, she was pronounced dead. She was 36 years old. The world woke to disbelief. News bulletins interrupted programming. Radios fell silent between announcements. Crowds gathered outside Kensington Palace, leaving mountains of flowers and handwritten notes. Grief became global. An estimated 2.5 billion people watched her funeral at Westminster Abbey. Elton John performed a rewritten version of Candle in the Wind, his voice echoing through the Abbey. And 2 young princes walked behind their mother's coffin, a moment so powerful it remains etched into collective memory. Diana's death forced the monarchy to confront public emotion in a way it never had before. Flags were lowered, protocols shifted, the distance between crown and people narrowed. In life, she had modernized the image of royalty. In death, she transformed it permanently. Diana's story is not simply one of tragedy. It is a story of vulnerability in a world that demanded perfection. It is a story of a woman who turned personal pain into public compassion. She humanized an ancient institution and brought empathy to the forefront of global conversation. Her sons continue charitable work inspired by her example. Her image still appears in documentaries, books, and debates, proof that her influence endures. Perhaps the greatest irony of Diana's life is this: the girl who once felt invisible became the most seen woman on earth. She searched for love in palaces and found it in the hearts of millions. And though her life ended in a dark Paris tunnel, her legacy remains illuminated, not by flashbulbs, but by the compassion she showed to a watching world. She wasn't perfect. She wasn't untouchable. She was human. And that is why we still remember her. Subscribe to My History Avenue, because here, history is alive, and every story has a heartbeat. I'll see you in the next episode.